You're sitting in a dark theater, surrounded by strangers. Someone 2 rows back starts crying. You don't know their name. You don't know what they lost or what memory just surfaced in the dark. But within seconds, your own throat tightens. Your eyes start to sting. You're crying with a person you've never met over a grief that isn't yours. Most people call this empathy and leave it there. But the real answer is far stranger. Your brain isn't simply imagining someone else's pain. It's running their tears like a program and quietly executing the same code in your own body on a delay of only a few hundred milliseconds. This isn't a metaphor. It's measurable. In the early 1990s, psychologist Elaine Hatfield, working with colleagues at the University of Hawaii, set out to explain why emotions seem to leap between people like sparks across a gap. She called it emotional contagion. Her research showed that humans don't just observe each other's facial expressions, they unconsciously mimic them. A furrowed brow becomes your furrowed brow. A trembling lip becomes yours. 2. Faster than thought, faster than choice. Why would evolution wire you this way? Because for most of human history, your survival depended on knowing what the people around you felt before they told you. A tightening face meant danger was near. A held breath meant something was wrong. Reading emotion wasn't a soft skill back then. It was a warning system, and the fastest way to read it was to feel it yourself. Here's where the story gets even stranger. In the 1990s, neuroscientist Giacomo Rizzolatti and his team in Parma, Italy, were studying the brains of macaque monkeys. They noticed something odd. The same neurons fired when a monkey reached for food and when it simply watched another monkey reach for food. The brain wasn't just observing the action. It was rehearsing it internally, as if the monkey itself were moving. These came to be known as mirror neurons. And in humans, this mirroring doesn't stop at hand movements. It extends to faces, to breath, to tears. When you watch someone cry, a network in your brain quietly reconstructs the physical sensation of crying before you've consciously decided to feel sad at all. Your body moves first. Your mind catches up later and writes a story to explain why. This is why you can cry at a stranger's grief in a film, even when you know it's fiction. Your mirror system doesn't check footnotes. It doesn't care that the actor goes home and laughs with the crew afterward. It only cares about the signal in front of it, and it responds as if the threat or the sorrow were your own. But crying is not the same as fear or pain or anger. Crying is unusual among human emotional displays because it produces something almost no other animal produces in the same way: emotional tears. This is the twist most people never stop to consider. Plenty of animals produce tears, but those tears are almost always lubrication, a response to dust, wind, or irritation. Humans appear to be the only species that reliably produces tears purely from emotional states, with no physical injury at all. Biochemist William Free, studying this in the 1980s, found that emotional tears carry a different chemical signature than the tears triggered by, say, cutting an onion. Emotional tears contain higher concentrations of stress-related proteins and hormones. In other words, when you cry from sadness, your body is not simply leaking water. It is releasing a small package of your internal chemistry into the world, visible on your face for anyone close enough to see it. Why would your body advertise something so private? Some researchers believe this is the entire point. A visible tear is a signal that's almost impossible to fake convincingly and almost impossible to ignore once seen. It tells the people around you, without a single word, that you are overwhelmed, that you need support, that you are lowering your guard. And because of the mirroring system and everyone watching, that signal doesn't stay contained to you. It spreads. This is contagion in its truest biological sense, not a metaphor borrowed from disease, but a genuine transfer of internal state from one nervous system to another, through nothing more than a wet eye and a trembling mouth. Psychologist Robert Provine spent years studying behaviors that move through groups this way, yawning, laughing, and crying among them. His research suggested these aren't just social habits. They're ancient communication tools, older than language itself, built to synchronize a group's emotional state in moments when words would be too slow. Think about what that means for a moment. Long before your ancestors had words for grief, they had tears. A child crying near a fire would pull every nearby adult into a shared state of alertness and concern without anyone needing to explain what happened. The crying did the explaining. The group felt it together, and the group responded together. This is also why crying in front of others has always carried weight far beyond the tears themselves. It isn't just an expression of sadness. It's a request, broadcast at a frequency your conscious mind barely registers, asking the people around you to feel what you feel and to act accordingly. And here's the part that should genuinely unsettle you. You don't get to opt out of receiving that signal. Your mirror system fires, whether you want it to or not. You can suppress the outward reaction, hold your face still, blink the sting away, but somewhere underneath, your nervous system has already begun mirroring the person in front of you. This is why sitting with someone who is sobbing can leave you emotionally drained, even if you said almost nothing the entire time. You weren't a passive witness. You were, biologically, halfway to crying yourself. Now, think about how often this plays out in your daily life, far from any movie theater. A coworker's voice cracks during a difficult conversation, and the whole room shifts. A friend tears up while telling you about a loss, and you feel your own chest tighten before you've even processed their words. A video of a stranger reuniting with someone they love crosses your screen, and despite knowing nothing about either person, your eyes well up anyway. You always assumed this was you being sensitive or sentimental or soft. It isn't. It's one of the oldest pieces of social wiring your species ever developed, still running quietly in the background of every interaction you have, exactly as it did around fires that went out tens of thousands of years before recorded history began. So the next time you feel your throat tighten at someone else's tears, someone you barely know, in a theater, on a screen, across a table, you can stop wondering why you're like that. You're not crying with a stranger. Your nervous system is simply doing exactly what it was built to do, completing the oldest conversation your species ever learned to have, the one that never needed a single word.